Hey, John, good morning to you.
How are you doing? Sorry about that. Sorry, I had Gary Grant, who's the owner of the Entertainer
Yes.
group, phoned me literally 5 minutes before the Zoom was due to start, and I thought, oh, we could do this in 5 minutes, and we couldn't. So it's slightly overran, but anyway, I'm
Don't
sorry about
worry,
that.
John.
But
I
here
was
now.
expecting you. Warm welcome to the French Toy Rendezvous, John. French Toy
Thank you.
Rendezvous number 15. And I'm happy, to talk to you because you're a guy quite known, in this industry. And I have a few questions, for you. And probably a lot of people are going to be interested by what you're going to say.
Well, I
Uh,
hope so.
so before talking about business and what you are doing, in the toy industry, I wanted to talk to the little John, John child, John teenager, and to know a bit more about you. Where are you born? What have you been studying? What have you been playing? Do you have passion? Do you have hobbies? All about you.
Sure. Well, I was born in a small town called Watford, which is about 20 miles north of London. Um, I had a wonderful childhood, and I suppose, like all kids, have really, really fond memories of the toys that I grew up with. When I launched Toy World magazine 12 years ago, the very first issue, the very first leader column I wrote, had a picture of me. Probably, I reckon I was about 2 years old, dressed up in full cowboy outfit with hat and the little gun and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you don't tend to have that these days, but I was always a kid that loved toys, loved imagination, loved playing. I think my favorite toys as a child were probably those based on the Jerry Anderson TV shows. So, when
Uh-huh.
I was younger, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, these were absolute classic TV programs that really, really sparked my imagination. And as far as I was concerned, I wanted to be one of the Tracy brothers in Thunderbirds. I wanted to be, Joe 90 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I had all the models, I had all the dressing up outfits and everything. And I remember all of those still, incredibly fondly. I also loved football as a child.
So
So
were you playing
I did. In fact,
in Watford?
as a junior, I trained at Watford. I never actually made it as a professional footballer, but as a teenager, I trained there for about 18 months. Several of my friends went on to become professional footballers, played in the cup final when Watford made it there in 1982. Several of them played for either Wales or England. Unfortunately, that wasn't quite. I wasn't quite at that level, so I never made it as a professional footballer, and hence here I am in the toy industry.
So it's where you were in so which team do you support now?
Watford. I
Watford.
look.
Okay.
I This
So
is very, very simple for me. I support the team in the town that I was born and grew up in. I'm not a glory hunter. I've seen Watford at the bottom of the lowest tier, the fourth division in the UK.
uh-huh.
I saw us get to the Premier League and the Cup final. We're not at that level. We're in the Championship, which is kind of the first division in the UK at the moment. But my allegiance has always been to my local team, and through good, through bad, through indifferent, that's who I support.
Ah,
And
very good. Good
yeah,
fun. Very good,
absolutely.
John. So I understand. So we understand a bit what you were doing when you were playing with the toys, with the costumes, and your link to your passion for the football. So when you are growing, you are a teenager, and what are you doing? You are studying, or what are you doing?
Yes, absolutely. I studied hard. I was
Art?
lucky. I was lucky enough to go to a good academic school, but I didn't want to go on to university for a variety of reasons. So I left and I looked for a job. I had no idea what I wanted to do, none at all. I was 18 years old, and I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do as a career. I always liked writing.
Yes.
And I went to the careers office in my local town, Watford, and they said to me, "Oh, there's a job here at a publishing company. You won't get it because you've got no experience. But why don't you just go along for the interview anyway? And it'll be good experience of an interview for you, because this was my first ever job interview." So I went along and was interviewed by somebody who, as I entered the room, was still on the telephone talking. And he talked for a minute or so, put the phone down, and he said, "Oh, sorry about that." And I said, "Oh, are you by any chance in a band?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, so am I." So we talked for about 15 minutes about music, what sort of bands we were in, what we liked. And after 15 minutes, he said, "Oh, yeah, you've come for an interview for a job, haven't you? You'll be fine. When can you start?"
Yeah.
And that was it. And in that first media company, one of their magazines was called Toy Trader. So along with some very, very heavy industrial magazines, so process biochemistry, paint and resin news, brushes international, storage, handling, distribution, lots of sort of fairly unglamorous titles. But toys for me kind of stuck out because toys is a wonderful subject. It's everybody can relate to it, whether it's through your own childhood or whether it's through your children or friends' children or cousins or whatever. Everybody has got a way to relate to toys. And when I looked at all of the magazines in this particular group, toys was the one that completely stood out for me as the one I wanted to work on. And I was lucky enough to land on that magazine fairly early in my career. And that's really been it for me. I've stayed working on toy magazines
Okay,
ever
so
since.
how many toy magazines have you been doing before creating your magazine?
So I worked on two prior
Two.
to creating my own magazine. And then, yes, I launched Toy World 12 years ago. So 2011, I left my previous company to set up Toy World.
Okay, very interesting. So you wanted to become an entrepreneur, to be on your own, and that was your challenge at that time?
That was a big part of it. Yes, I had a lot of ideas, and I think like maybe a lot of people during their careers, if they feel their ideas aren't being listened to at the company where they are, perhaps they think, well, now's the time to go out and do it myself and test my ideas, see if they will be a success. And I could have taken a different path. I could have gone to another publishing company and just become a publisher of, in a completely different industry. But that's not what I wanted to do. My allegiance and my passions in the business world have always centered around toys. At my previous company, I was a publisher of 9 different magazines in lots of different industries, including some very dull ones like tableware. I would go to a show in Frankfurt where I would be basically looking at plates and cups and mugs. And it really was incredibly tedious. So I'd always enjoyed toys and licensing. For me, it was more fascinating. Great people, in fact, really interesting people, really interesting products. And I think having spent the best part of 4 decades in the toy industry, I think I understand it. I know what makes it tick. I know how it works. I know lots of people in the toy industry. So for me, when I had a choice of what to do 12 years ago, it wasn't the hardest choice in the world. I would far rather stay within the toy industry rather than leave it. So the way to do that was to launch my own magazine. So I did that, and it's without doubt been the best 12 years of my career.
Okay, so what kind of show do you attend? How many shows do you attend in the toy world?
Okay, so I will start off. I try to go to as many shows as I can. So obviously, the last few years has been disrupted. The calendar of shows has been disrupted, but generally, my year would start off in Hong Kong.
You go to Hong Kong
Early in January. Then I would come back, and the biggest show for me of the entire year is the London Toy Fair, because our main focus as a magazine is the UK toy community and the UK toy market. So London is huge. Nuremberg is probably the second most important show for me in the year. So that immediately follows on from London, and it gives me a great chance to see a lot of our international partners, customers, retailers, etc. So I will always be in London and Nuremberg. I've been to New York Toy Fair for many years. Of course, in 2024, we don't have a New York Toy Fair. It'll be very interesting to see what happens to that in 2025. What I may be looking at doing in 2024 is paying my first visit to LA, because Los Angeles has become...
the spring show? You want to go to the spring show?
Not so much for me spring. I think for me it would be the autumn show in September.
Okay.
Where shows work best for me is critical mass. I need as many people to be there as possible, and I need them to be there at the same time, because it's about seeing as many people, whether that be on stands or in showrooms and at networking events, and perhaps out for dinner or drinks in the evening. So what I need to have is as many people in one place as possible to make it effective for me. So probably for me, LA makes more sense in September. So I'm planning my first trip to LA next year. I also attend a couple of the major licensing shows. So I will go to Licensing Expo in Las Vegas. I will BLE in London is another very important show for me, because of the very close working relationship between the toy and the licensing communities, and the fact that we now have a licensing website, licensing.biz. So we're very much toy and licensing. That's our focus. So for me, it's the main shows. There are obviously UK shows as well. I will go to the Toy Master show. There are a couple of other events in the UK, but I'll always go where there's a large number of toy people communicating. Large number of toy people congregating, as long as the timing works. There's some other shows that I'd love to go to, but the timing just isn't quite right for me. So, but we'll always try and be out and about, because it's where you see product, it's where you meet people, it's where you exchange ideas, where you hear news, and where you strengthen the relationships that you've got. And relationships are so important in the toy market. It's what's really allowed me to set up Toy World, was having good, strong relationships with people for so long. And it's those relationships that allow us to really write good quality content, because people share, people tell me what's going on, people will give me their insight, and that's essential for me to be able to write about what's going on. If I have retailers and I have toy companies telling me what they're experiencing, what's happening for them, I can then put all of that information together and try and make sense of it, so that I can look at how it affects the whole toy community. But I can only do that if everybody gives me their time and shares their knowledge and shares their information. So that's why I love shows, because they're so effective from a time point of view. You can see a lot of people in a very short space of time.
This is clear that this is the way it works, and you're totally right. And You need to go to those shows, and this is where you can do the relationship and meet everybody. So apart from that, John, I'm interested by the social media because you are very present on LinkedIn, for example, and this is where I'm following you, and many foreigners are following Toy World on LinkedIn. How do you use your social media apart from LinkedIn? Do you do others?
Yes, we
How do you
do.
do that?
So we are active on Twitter and on Facebook,
Yeah,
as well as LinkedIn. But if I'm honest, LinkedIn for me is probably the
that's not
best
the one.
platform for business communication.
Mm,
And it is important. You're absolutely right. For the first 20, 25 years of my career, it was a print magazine, and that was all it was. And by the way, print is still absolutely essential to our business. We could never do what we do without the monthly print magazine. It's still the heart, the soul of Toy World and what we do. But the digital and social media opportunities have completely revolutionized the media business,
sure.
because now we can push a button and everybody in the world can know something within minutes. This is a game changer. In the past, you had to wait for the next print issue, which might be 3 or 4 weeks away. Then you'd have to mail it out. Sometimes it would take a week or 2 weeks to get to Asia or to America or to parts of Europe. Now, within half an hour of us hearing a big story, we can tell the whole world about it. And the key with social media is we want to be wherever people look to get their information.
Sure.
So some people will still love to read the print issue, and that's really, really important, because social media is very much a quick thing. People want news, what's happened immediately. They want to read maybe the headline, a couple of paragraphs. You don't sit there and read a long form article, a long 1,000 or 2,000 word interview online, because it's just not the medium for it.
Mm.
It's great for communicating quick and immediate news stories. So we use our online presence to spread the word quickly and to spread the word across the globe in a way that we could never do it previously. And that's what it's about. As a media operation in the 21st century, you have to be everywhere. You have to be in print. You have to be online. You have to be on social media. And if you are present in all of these places and you share good quality content, people will find you. It amazes me when I go to Nuremberg, or I'll go to Distoy, or to the licensing show in Las Vegas, and people will come up to me now from every country in the world, and they'll know who we are and they'll
Oh
know
yeah.
what we do. And a lot of that is down to things like LinkedIn and social media. So it's absolutely essential. And for us, it's revolutionized what we can do and how we can do it. So it's fantastic. But for those people who think the future is only digital and is not about print, they honestly couldn't be more wrong. We're working on our biggest ever January issue at the moment. It's
Mm.
going to be 386 pages with a 92-page supplement for Nuremberg. So, in total, it's nearly 500 pages. So for anybody who might think, oh, print is dead, the 500 pages we're producing for January says otherwise. Print is absolutely still alive and well if you do it properly.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And the mix of the print and social media, you're doing very well, and your personal branding is excellent. So, and I totally agree, and I try to do the same for me. So I understand clearly what you are doing. So let's talk about France, John. What's your relation with France, and for the industry or for private? What do you think about France?
Oh, I love France. I actually studied French to A level.
Oh yeah.
So when I was in my teens and early 20s, I could speak French reasonably fluently. Now, I'm not going to make any claims for my ability to, because that's a long, long time ago. So, unfortunately, my ability to speak French is not what it was. But no, I always had an affinity with France. I love the food, I love the wine, I love the country. I've been on holiday there many times.
Yeah.
I love it as a place. We work with a number of major French toy companies, the ones particularly who look to the international market. And I've been to several French toy manufacturing facilities. So it's lovely to see toy manufacturing still has a place in Europe.
Yeah.
Always great to visit French factories or Italian factories or wherever we've still got manufacturing facilities here in Europe. I think that's wonderful. Obviously, there are some fantastic French companies with some great French products. So, it's Europe is an important market. I mean, it is. I still consider myself to be European, despite the ridiculous situation that the UK has with Brexit.
Yeah.
And I'm, one of many, many people who was absolutely devastated at the Brexit result. I consider myself very much to be European. I consider um, our real core market to be the UK and Europe, because there are so many synergies. And yes, of course, the French market is different to the UK market. You have the hypermarchés and that we perhaps don't have, and of course there are always going to be differences. But culturally, for me, the British, the German, the French, the Italian, the Spanish toy markets, there's a lot that unites us as well. So I try to keep up to date with what's going on in all of these markets because we're very closely connected. And I for one hope that we will lose the Brexit thing eventually and rejoin the EU, because
Sure.
the EU, the UK belongs in the EU. We belong at the top table. We should be there
Mm.
helping to make the right decisions for Europe. It was a crazy, crazy thought that we should sit outside of it, because as far as I'm concerned, you're our closest. France is our closest international market.
Mm.
We should be looking at opportunities on our own doorstep for as much free trade as possible. As far as I'm concerned, this is not difficult. This is not a difficult decision.
Yeah.
And I was extremely disappointed that the majority of my fellow countrymen saw it differently. But I think that mood is already very much changing in the UK now that we see the reality of what Brexit is, rather than the ridiculous dream that some of the politicians tried to sell people. The reality, we now know what it means.
Mm.
And I think those of us who were always against it are not going to change our minds. But a lot of people who had thought it would turn out one way now realize it's turned out a completely different way. So, I very much hope that there's closer cooperation between the UK and Europe in the future. And we'll always look at that European market as an integral and very important part of what we do in Toy World, because you're so close.
Yeah.
There should be lots of exchanging of ideas and information and product, etc.
Okay. Okay, John. Thanks a lot for this little chat. It was very interesting. And there is a tradition, to end the show. You have to do a funny face. Your best funny face.
I saw your email with this on, and I thought, well, okay. I mean, I love the branding. I'm not sure it's what I do best, but okay, here we go.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
I
Yann.
wish
It's been
you
a
a Merry
pleasure.
Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the best to you and your family and all the team. Enjoy I hope for you have a few days off and you can enjoy with your family and
Well, that's what we hope as well. So once that January issue is uploaded, I'm going to just go and have a relax before it all starts again in January.
Relax, and you will see this interview on LinkedIn in a few days, and
Excellent.
YouTube. And well, I'm still following you, as I do for a few years. Very interesting always. And,
Fantastic. Well,
let's see if we cross in Nuremberg.
I'm sure we will.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Great to talk to you. Thanks, Yann.
Merry
Cheers.
Christmas.
And
Bye.
Merry Christmas to you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.